Dad went on to be the cadet colonel of the Air Force ROTC at ASU. And he got to lead those men and raise them to be airmen. And all he ever wanted was to get those wings. When he graduated, he took his flight physical and he failed. Due to a color blindness deficiency he had no idea that he had. So his dreams were dashed and he got first trip to Laos. Raised funds, and we were hopeful that if we could just get to the village close to where Dad was missing, they would know something. They had located a helmet. We know that they've seen the site somehow. And that helmet creates the story where DPAA goes out and gets to investigate Dad's loss. They get to talk to the locals and find out what happened and at what point. So we now have an ejection seat. We have a flight suit that somehow at some point in time has been cut in half. We have remnants of his boots and his pistol. We know he's there on that mountain, and the site has been excavated twice. It's on a 13% grade, and in the jungle with triple canopy and the waters that rush down most of the rainy season, we have no idea where those remains might be, or if locals haven't already buried him. That's a possibility. Another really gruesome possibility is in the 80s, it was very popular to find remains and sell them on the black market. Top dollar. It's a horrific reality for some of our service members. So I'm trying to keep this short because it's warm and I'm feeling it too. But I wanted to thank you all for taking a moment and spending this time to reflect on those who paid the ultimate sacrifice in our honor. My second trip back from Laos, I was able to sign papers for my son who's 17. He just signed with the Marines. That's a tough one. But I'm really proud of him that he has that drive and that ambition and that he loves our country enough to do so. I've raised a patriot, and that means the world to me. I really like to open things up to questions at the end. If anybody has a question you would like to ask, I'm available. Casey.
So because they've not found his remains, are you considered a Gold Star family?
Technically, when Carter declared all missing in action dead, killed in action, we were eligible for that, and my mother said absolutely not. You show me remains, I can bury my husband, I will gladly wear that Gold Star, and in doing so we missed out on a lot of resources for the family. And I think in retrospect she might regret that a little bit, but I don't feel like a Gold Star because I don't have a place to go. My place to go is with the other 58,000 names in DC, where we write to every year. That's my headstone.
Love you.
Anyone else have a question? Open book. Yes, sir.
Well, where in Laos did you go? Since you have a name of it.
Well, yes. Dak Lan is the name of the little village. It's just outside of Dak Chung in the southern area. His site is 3 miles from the Vietnam border. And when I traveled, I went with an organization called Impact Laos that is run by a gentleman who is the son of a KIA from that era, and I traveled with 2 other MIA daughters. So it was a wonderful experience. Unfortunately, with diplomatic issues the way they are right now, they allowed us to come in, and then they denied me access to my dad's village and his site. The others were allowed to visit their dad's